Hello, it's me, it's Wolfren, and today I'm making this video to talk with you about what the fuck are we Zorga players going to do this season. Okay, so since the beginning of the new format, the Divine format, let's say, we have received, I would say, a rather limited amount of support, because even if the support it's coming our ways, it's not like amazing, it's certainly lacking of some sorts. Okay, so we have ahead of us the whole BCS season, and like I think we need to talk about what are the cards we have received, what is actually Zorga capable or not capable of doing, and like put the nail on the coffin. No, I think this is the wrong expression. Well, it's fine. I don't care. So basically, yeah. So we need to start making conclusions. Yeah, that's what I meant. Making conclusions, not killing anyone, and like establishing what the fuck we are doing. Okay. So this video, we will be seeing. Here we have the summary. We will try to define the format a bit, like try to understand what is the game of Banger we are currently playing. And we will try to understand the Zorga cards, the Zorga archetype, and as a whole, and try to see how we can use the cards to our advantage. Okay, we have received Zorga Nadir as a very good tool, either as a standalone deck and as a support for Zorga Masque, and we haven't received much more cards. Okay, basically Karma, it's terrible, it does nothing useful at all, like it does cards, it certainly does things, but those things are not what we want it to be doing, okay? And like, it's so important to understand that that card, it's like the opposite to what the format it's trying to do. Like, we have a lot of cards that are completely stupid or broken going first, like decks that only want to go first, and if they go first, they will win, and if they do not, they won't, because this is how strong the cards are, and we receive Karma, which is a card that only works going second. And it's bad for rushing. Okay, well, no comments. Hades, it's good though, but it's fine. Like, basically, we'll talk about what cards are actually useful, we will see some deck lists, we will talk about how Nadir supports the Zorga Masque playstyle as well. So basically there is two good ways of playing the deck at this moment, and I think they are pretty good, they work, but the point is like trying to see why they work and how. Then we will like establish like not a proper tier list, but rather, you know me, you know I don't like to say this is better than this, than that, and that, and this is tier 1, and this is tier 1.235 P. I don't like doing that. I rather just consider the pool of enemies as a whole and respect them, and just practice or make considerations about their existence. Okay, so we will try to justify or analyze why those decks are good, rather than saying this is better, this is tal. I have one clear better deck, and of course we will talk about it, but not doing that in general. Okay, and finally we'll try to say, okay, this kind of build will work better this moment of the year, this kind of build should work better this other moment. So yep, that's what we are going to be doing. For starters, and moving into the format part, I think the format, the way we play the game has changed widely. Like, we come from a format past year where decks had different ways of interacting with each other. It was either by CV denying, it was like by playing grade 2 gaming, and like, at least I felt like it didn't matter as much if you won or lose the die roll. There was a way to play it out through strategy and interaction, right? We had like, I don't know, good decks, like you have the strike decks, of course, you can interact those easily by doing grade 2 game. But that's also interesting, and it's a way of playing, right? You know, you have to play your cards in a different way, right? And that doesn't happen as much. We won't see that a lot. Of course, if we are playing a Masque variant, we can do that into the Masque deck, but we won't be doing that anymore if we are playing Zorga Nadir, who also has access to ladders, so you don't even need to do that, because you have a card that shuts them down. I will, it's not scheduled, but I will talk about how I think it's not good and it's very terrible to print massive amount of removal, but just deciding that the opponent can play around that if they top deck one single card of the deck, right? What are you doing when you don't get that card? And if you think there should be a card to keep that kind of interaction in check, why do you print such strong ways of removal? Or why don't you print cheaper and more accessible ways of interaction in a non-oppressive way either, right? You have oppressive removals and it would seem like you need oppressive counter removals when you can, I don't know, print little amounts of Mirage to prevent how many cards you would lose, or I don't know. Like, I don't like Ladder as a card at all, but well, fortunately, Zorga Nadir can just tutor for it, so let's use it while we can, right? And, well, basically, okay, this leads into a format where you can play the game, right, two different ways, okay? You have the old way, the I can go second, even though this new way has been partially eclipsed by the new design block, where you have those going first, ultra boosty, Odium, Jojo Doji, Blackmire, very powerful decks when they go first that happen to fall a bit off when they go second. Okay, so basically we are on a format where dice roll matters a lot, where straight decks have to even go first. They have to go first to not get destroyed by the divine skills, and then they can do things because they have removals and certain decks struggle a bit versus that. But yeah, basically you have to choose between these massive boosted and interactable decks, or let's say all-rounded decks that can't do well when they go second because they have some kind of mechanic that allows them to do that, like Masque decks or stride decks. Those decks win less when they go first, but they have a slightly better win ratio when they go second. So you can choose to go all in with a boost deck going first that will lose slightly too much, in my opinion, like for my taste, they will lose too much going second. Or you can play an overall weaker deck that it's also more consistently winning, ignoring the result of the dice, right? You have to choose one of those playstyles. And why I'm explaining that, or why I do think this explanation is important for Zorga, basically we have the same option people has into playing the very different decks they have available, but we can choose like our divine version of Zorga, which is Zorga Nadir or Zorga Nadir or Zorga Nadir and Zorga Masque, okay? Moving into what is the Zorga theory, let's try to talk a bit about what I think we should be doing with Zorga this year, okay? Basically, we have the luck of having a relatively combinable or versatile kind of deck where we can choose a bit what speed we want to play, and we can play different synergy cards, like different packs of cards that allow for different stuff. You still play Zorga, you still have this beatdown 3-4 attacks deck playstyle with green options where you can choose to be more powerful and draw less, or a bit weaker, draw more, etc. You can still play Zorga, but you can play Zorga around different things. And instead of like saying Nadir it's better, Masque it's better, I don't think that's true, and I will explain later why they are basically the same deck. Okay, they are literally the same deck, You just use different cards, but you're doing the fucking same. The cost is the same, the powers is the same, everything is the same, alright? So it's not like we have two decks and one is better and the other it's bad. That's not the case, okay? We have a pool of cards that lets us build our deck with different strengths on different points of the game and against different decks in the format. So I think we have to be smart, and if you don't like one of the two, okay, that's fine, you can focus on the other one. But if you like both, like that's my case, I like both, I have fun playing both, the best thing I can do is like read the meta and just choose the better option, okay? when we play Nadir, well, it's the opposite on the picture, but that's fine. We started here. It's fine. Let's go with the. I have the PowerPoint. Let's use the PowerPoint. Yeah. So when we have Zorga Masque, we have a deck that inevitably will be a bit weaker going first compared to the other guy, because we have the Zorga Nadir has the fishing, which is very good, very strong going first. You have a lot of consistency and you can play without having to commit cards early. So basically you will go +2 through your dragons and then you will go +2 to your board with Nadir, because you don't have to call those cards. You are allowed to run Brave Shooter, which allows you to keep your whole hand size, like Blackmire dice, for example, or other Divine decks try to do. Well, when you're going first, if you manage to kill them by turn 4 or 5, otherwise as any other Divine deck, like this is not, like, I hate when people, it's like, Zorga Nadir doesn't kill and it's bad. Well, welcome to Divine format. If you play Blackmire and do not kill, you lost. If you play Chris Ray and you didn't win, even with Rochelle, you lost. If you play Calcilibra and do not kill, you lost. This is not something that happens to Zorga Nadir and Zorga, it's super bad, we cannot play Zorga. No, this is something that happens in this format. If you play a Divine deck, if you play Shoshodoji, even if you play Shoshodoji and you don't kill on your turn 4, maybe you don't have enough to survive what they are doing either. Okay? So, when you play Zorga Masque, you are not struggling with that. You have you don't have this all-in burst combo. You are a bit weaker. You are still strong enough to go first and you should be going first, but you sacrifice a bit of potency going first in order to have a more rounded up strategy that can work regardless of the die roll result. Okay? When you choose Zorga Masque, you are choosing to play a deck that is mid-range, that has a guaranteed high enough aggro output, both going first and second, so you can always access to win a game, regardless of OT in defense happening, regardless on bad early game or them healing too much. Okay, because you have a very good sustained pressure throughout the course of the game that will allow you to win. When you want to deviate into more grindy strategies, you can still do that. It won't be as good as Zorga Nadir, because Zorga Nadir has a lot of ways of plussing cards to hand, not just to board. Like, you plus to board, and since you are plussing to board, you can then plus to hand with your orders. Zorga Masque has to keep the board intact, so you can use Habitat and Freeze not to build the board again after a board wipe, but to call cards you want to bounce back with Shadow Cloak. So Nadir is way better at rebuilding the board against removal decks. This is partially a lie, because they made every removal deck possible bind thing, so basically it's like, if we are not reviving anything because the cards go to the other world. But like, let's assume you're playing into Wellstra, Zorga Nadir can rebuild the board every time, and you can use every single order you have available into plussing to hand, either by putting a bitch into hand or by drawing more. Here there is like some kind of fallacy we will see later. Opposite to what it seems, like Zorga Nadir doesn't farm more cards to hand than Zorga Masque does. You get more cards to hand, but those are also poor quality, because you are drawing more, sure, but you are drawing orders or bleeds or I don't know what you're... No, shieldless cards. Zorga Masque will targetedly put the card you want into your hand. Okay, so basically you play Zorga Masque if you are trying to avoid this coin flip format where you have to win the die roll. Zorga Nadir can win, and will win a lot going first, like by turn 4 or 5. Like, I have the printer fucking me because it decided to turn on now. Okay, well, it's fine. Zorga Nadir will do a very good job going first. You will have the consistency from fishing, the rebuild board, you will save a lot of cards, brave shooters, etc. But going second, you will be struggling a bit more. Okay, this depends on you. This is a choice you have to make. Okay, and finally, one thing that Zorga Nadir brings to or pool of cards, of Zorga pool of cards, it's the possibility. There is two things. The special one will come later, but first of all, like Zorga Nadir offers Zorga Masque the way of having like this AB2 cycler effect, where you can rebuild 2 cards, and when you can combine Zorga Nadir with Zorga Masque, you can give Zorga Masque the possibility of rebuilding. And when you are playing Zorga Masque and you have the kill, like, okay, Zorga Nether is stronger until turn 4, because you have the divine skill and then you do 3 attacks, but like, after that, you start falling off. If they heal back to 3, you almost certainly lost, because there is no way you will kill out of the clock, fucking you up, or etc. Okay, but when you can combine both, you have the rebuilding strength from Nadir, the plussing engine Nadir gives you, and you have the 4 attacks, sustained pressure. Also, you have more soul, so that means you can do more shadow plays, more bounce, etc. Okay, so Zorga Nether gives you that for your turn 3. Not only it lets you like, it lets you choose actually, because it lets you call 2 boosters or 1 booster and 1 shadow cloak, but it lets you also like call a PG from drop and bounce it with a shadow cloak, that kind of stuff. There's a lot of plays where you can plus a lot to hand with Zorga Nether without paying CV. That's the thing. It's a CC compared to Zorga, the blue Zorga, where you have to pay the CC to access the same +1. But that's basically it. And if you run more copies of Zorga Nether, that's the other thing, that's the other stuff, you can do those kind of plays better. And in this aggro format, where Shoshodoji like and Blackmire, that you have to play a 3.5 turn game, being able to put all the pressure, you lose the cards, then rewrite, rebuild, and Persona write again, it's very strong. Because it makes you strong against that the kind of game we want to play. This is opposite to what it might look like. It's an aggro format. Shoshodoji, it's the best deck because it goes very fast. It doesn't give the Divine decks the opportunity to play it out. And when you go second, they have the extra PG and they have a very good survival, but then they have a lot of push, so it's the most aggro deck. It's the best going first, the best going second, it kills you. Okay, so if you are able to play a very aggressive this format, you are very strong. Okay, I'm like anticipating things, but it's fine. It's completely fine. Okay, so basically we have that Zorga Nadir and Zorga Masques have some similarities, like both of them are those kind of tempo decks that try to sequence their orders and, well, you know how Zorga works, okay? One thing I would like to completely, I want to kill the Zorga Nadir doesn't require pieces propaganda. Okay, it doesn't require pieces, but like, if you don't see Alana, you are fucked. If you don't use Miasma turn 3, you are fucked. If you don't use Ladder turn 3, you are fucked. If you don't see Shadow Cloak to put the other orders where they belong, you are also fucked. You see what I'm meaning? There is no Forbidden in the deck. No Persona, right? Oh, you're also fucked. Congratulations. Okay, so yeah, Zorga Nether needs a lot of pieces as well. Not as much, I agree. It's like you play Zorga Nadir and it's smooth, like you don't care about much of the orders because like he is like putting everything in the board, and like you, as long as you use Miasma and combined overcoming to green the bind zone to have the necessary amount of power, it doesn't matter what order you're actually playing or what order you actually bind. You just care about hitting 38k power turn 3 and 53 power turn 4 onwards. That's the only thing you care about, okay? And while you're doing this, you just care about putting the drive check orders, the Gather Upon Me and the Sweets in between to guarantee you hit the crit. Because if you don't hit the crit, they suddenly just save a PG. They will take the Zorga, go to 5, then maybe they heal to 4 again, they can take Zorga Nadir again. Okay, so the drive check orders are actually very important, okay? So to play Zorga Nadir, you don't care about pieces, you just care about the tempo and using Miasma turn 3, using Ladder turn 3 most of the time because you need the soul and the 5k, and knowing when not to use the Ladder turn 3 in order to maybe use Habitat for a Zorga Nadir or a PG from the deck, okay? But basically, that's just that. Don't overcommit to the abolishment though, but that's basically it. And just putting the drive check orders on the right situations so you can kill as fast as possible, because don't get baited by the options. This is like a fallacy. There is no 2 pills, they are both blue pills. Or they are both red pills, okay? There is just one option. The other option, it makes you lose. It's not like between staying in Matrix or not staying in Matrix. It's because winning or it's not real option, okay? You need to be very precise with the orders you are using. okay? Which in the end is more piece reliance. We will move to the deck and I will explain why some precise orders need to be that, okay? But basically, they are the same, okay? The difference, the main difference besides Zorga Masque, okay, they need kill, severing, beast, fine, that's okay. But the most important difference is like Nadir cares mode, like it generates more amount of cards, but the amount of cards you are generating is actually mediocre. It's worse. You might have 13 cards in hand and they have no shield value because they are orders. You have to farm for 2 turns later because you won't be able to use the overcoming next turn because you need another order that turn, like the drive check one, so you need 2 orders in hand, maybe the third goes for the PG. But like, I'm trying to say is that you will have a lot of cards that are blind draws, that are orders, that are dragons, 5Ks, okay, shooters, but you are not like handpicking, you are not grabbing your deck. And I want this and this and this in my hand, I want this in the drop, and I grab that from my drop, and I have 3 PGs. You are not doing that. You are drawing blindly. Okay, when you play an order, that order is usually trading itself for a card, unless it has a CV cost, like overcoming, then it trades itself for 2 cards, and then because it's alchemy magic, you get 1 extra +1 from the other order. So basically, you waste 1 card to gain 2, or you waste 1 card to gain 3 cards. Okay, but every order it's like that. Every single order in the game, mostly, it's like that. If you use 2 habitats, it's still +1. If you use habitat and overcoming, it's +2. It's +1, +2, yeah, because you're discarding an order from hand. Okay, so it's not true that the Nadir orders or the Nadir combination generate more cards in your hand. That's not true. That's not what's happening. What's happening is that Nadir asks you to call less cards to board because you will rebuild later, so you never get to call those 2 cards. You are not generating more cards. You are not calling as much. This is what Dayusha does, what Blankmire does, what all the new Divine decks do, the ones that plus. Okay, so we are not here trying to compare a control deck that draws a lot and can slow down. No, that's not what happens. You're playing a tempo deck, you go brrr to the face, to the opponent's face, because the moment you skip on 1 single damage, you lost the game, okay? Because they heal, and then they save another card, then OT, because you didn't kill the last turn. Drama, okay? So you're playing a tempo deck. Only on the right circumstance, like Varga Dragres, because we said we are on a less interactive format as well, so the value from damage denying, it's very neglectable, unless you're playing versus Orphis Masque, maybe Luard if they are playing the new undercover list, Varga Dragres, okay, then you have the control option, but that's not because Nadir is a control deck itself. Zorga has that mid-range nature where you can go face and have an easy game, or trying on the right, only in the right circumstance, try to play it for the value, to farm more, to slow the opponent down. You can always use Nadir to call 2 cards, use Malice for example, kill the cards, and you attack 15, 10, 15. What is Varga going to do? They need 4 CVs to kill you. They will take the 15, you don't give a fuck. Okay, so this is an option. It's not like Nadir, it's like a control deck or anything like that. It's not a deck that will go book and will tank for ages. That's not true. You have your 13 hand size and they attack, they do divine, and you go to 0 or die. It doesn't matter. You are not more longevous with Zorga Nadir. That's not true. On the other side, Zorga Masque, it's not this aggro deck that doesn't have a hand size. For starters, do you see people caring about Shoshology having 2 cards in the hand? No, right? Your opponent died. Best hand size, it's a dead opponent, okay? You don't need, like, it's not a hand size competition, it's a deal 6 damage competition. If you can deal 6 damage before your opponent does, you're winning, congratulations. You don't need 3000 cards in hand, you just need enough cards in hand to stay out of opponent's reach while you keep them in your reach, okay? If you play Brave Shooter in Nadir, and you have Brave Shooter in your hand, and you went second, and you cannot call the shooter to attack because you don't have, because it's already 2 and you don't have Philander, for example. You are keeping 1 card when you discard by paying a resource instead of calling a grade 1 that attacks and takes a card from their hand for free. If Philander puts a card into your drop zone, that's another +1. This means like there is a lot of the cards in Zorga Masque that are actually generating value. They are either making the game shorter, so you need less cards in your hand, and your opponent has less cards in hand, or they need more cards in hand to survive. And like Zorga Masque still runs Nether in the deck. You can choose, I want Ride this turn because my opponent needs the CB, so I keep my card and I attack for 23 this turn because it doesn't matter. You can do that kind of thing with Zorga Masque. Knowing when to not commit as much with Zorga Masque, it's a choice you are making as a Zorga Masque player. It's not true that Zorga Masque is a deck that doesn't have a hand size. You can buy Nadir, call Shadow Cloak, use 2 orders and put 2 cards, the 2 cards you want into your hand. How is this less tanky than drawing 2 blindly? Okay, Zorga Nether has access to the cards that generate card amount, but those cards do not generate more shield value or more quality in your hand, okay? So what I want to say is like both decks are essentially the same. They are doing the same with different card pool. We will move into this. I'm not sure if we are here yet. I think we are. Yeah, we'll put some examples on how both decks work exactly the same. Okay, here we have Nether, we have Black Magic, which is a draw 2 that has an increased cost, but we have Headhunter, which reduces that cost. Okay, when you play Black Magic, let's say you are playing just 1 CV to play it because you are using Headhunter, you are actually generating the same as using Beast, CV1, Soulless 1, then regain that same cost and draw 1. Okay, you activate Cow, so you go +1 in hand, and Malice then draws another one. So this is 2 cards, right? It's the same as using Black Magics. The only difference is that Malice struggles a bit more versus board wipe decks, and Black Magics can be used without calling the cards, right? You can use the Nadir, but the amount of cards they generate, it's basically the same amount. Then we have the Cow marker, which is 5k, that it's the same as the Headhunter power. They are both 13k boosters, essentially. And then we have the 10k on Philander, that it's the same 10k, 15k that Zorga Nether is generating, right? We are paying the same amount of cost to generate the same. We are using the extra CB that we saw in Black Magics to generate a 4th attack. But that's it. It's the same play. If we are comparing a tempo race between the 2 decks, you go turn 3, we hit for 38, we hit for 38 if we are playing the decks correctly. We go into turn 4, we are paying the same amount of costs to do the exact same play differently with different cards, and then the difference is that it will fall off right after and Zorga Masque will keep going. Okay? But they are the same deck. They are literally the same deck. And the other difference will be that Zorga Nether will be good at keep rebuilding the board. You don't struggle with Blackmire. Like if you use Ladder, you don't lose the dragons and then they are not killing your board because it goes away. Zorga Nether has also better prison matchup because you have Headhunter and you can use your soul more economically and you can try your own cards so they cannot imprison them. But besides them having different matchups or kinds, for example, Zorga Masque destroys stride decks. Zorga Nadir struggles versus stride decks. That's what I want to say. Like, if people is playing stride decks, we have to play Zorga Masque. If people is playing Listiafael, Varga, easy to out-green decks, we have to play Zorga Nether. If they are playing very green decks like Eva or other Zorgas, we have to play Zorga Masque because we won't out-green them because they also green, but they have 4 attacks. We will fall off eventually, okay? So we need to be smart. And yeah, I put the shooter here because they are paying CB1 to draw 1 with the Brave Shooter, but we have that CB +1 on the other card every turn. And when like even let's say you use the Black Magics, if you use it because you need to use other orders and you have that extra +1, that extra Brave Shooter +1 gets compensated by the extra card Philander. It's not taking away from their hand for free, going second. You will go second, you won't be able to swing with Philander because it's a shooter, so the same card you are drawing for a cost is the card they get to keep. you are not generating anything more. Like, you have to choose. Do you want more cards in your hand? Fine. Zorga Nether. You want them to struggle more and more hand quality? You play Zorga Masque, but they are the same, they generate the same, they attack for the same, they scale the same, green the same, they are just using different cards to do it. Okay, let's just see a different example of more of the same. Here we have Miasma with Headhunter. Like, do you remember Blue Zorga? You had to use GDR every turn to get access to the 10k, and next set they gave us Red Zorga, where you gave 5k and Miasma only gave 5k, so the total amount of power was the same, and you still were forced to use the Miasma to hit the right power thresholds. So basically you were changing one order for the other, and you were still hitting the same amounts of power. The only difference was that Zorga Red could give us an order every turn, so that was really nice, so it was more solid, but it was the same power. Here it's happening the same. Would you rather play Miasma as a 0 CB card for the 5k power with Headhunter, or would you play Freeze on a deck that has Masque of Hydragrum that keeps soul charging with Philander? Philander it's 10k. Miasma with Headhunter it's also 10k. And you are not paying CB because Headhunter reduces the cost, and Habitat and Freeze do not have a cost. Freeze also does not have a cost because you are playing Masque of Hydragrum. What is better? Philander, it's putting some cards in from your deck very fast, and to find Zorga Masque pieces you need to play Philander, but in reality, like, it's the same, right? Because you will use the extra drive orders, the Gadrupami and the Sweets with the Headhunter as well to make the same thing. So it's the same power, you are still reviving cards from your drop zone. You can still play Zorga Nether in Zorga Masque for the same EV2 skill. Next. And last but not least, like, before moving on, right? I have already mentioned that, but the only way, like, you use Miasma with Headhunter and something else for free, same power as using whatever with Philander, same power, okay? The only way to break through that, because Zorga Masque is also giving 10k power more, that's the power that it may seem I was missing, but I'm not missing because Zorga Masque also it's using GDR every turn. The only way we break through that 58k power ceiling, it's by combining both and doing the Zorga Masque churn on top of a Nadir right, turn 4 and 5. So basically, right, what I want to say here is, like, I think they made that card so you could play it alone, of course, like with your Divine and all of that, but Zorga Nether, it's also like that Fated King synergies they made with Resile and with Levidras, where you can put an OG, but it's like backwards, you put the new and then you rewrite to do something powerful. I think that's what they expect us to be doing with Zorga Nether, because both decks are the same until you manage to ride Nadir and, like, get either more strong boosters, be able to use DB2 to call a shadow you do not have, an RPG, use Overcoming from your bind zone, because that card, Overcoming with Abolishment, when you can do all what you are doing and put that on top of it, it's also very strong, and, like, you have this EV Cycler way of using Nether, and this is when I think the ceiling of the deck starts to break, because you have a Zorga Masque that does all the Zorga Masque does, which is equal to what of the Zorga Nether it's doing, but the moment you put Nether with Masques, you are doing something Nether alone cannot do, and that should be the most strong way of playing the deck. However, there is not a space for everything. There is, like, Brave Shooter, Headhunter, Philander, Cow, Kill, there is a lot of cards and you cannot play everything. So we need a way to economize a space in the deck, right? If we could, like, play Brave Shooter instead of Cow, we would always play Shooter, right? Because we have the energy usage, we have that economy, but we cannot because we need 3 Dragon, 3 Wretch in our deck in order to function. So what I think that it might be happening is, like, we saw this new card for that it's also very likely to come for Gandiva, that I think, like, it would make so much sense for Zorga. The moment we get that, and we can play less amount of cow to put our energy cyclers there, and we can start finding, it's like another order tutor, it's like having more Zorgas in your deck. We can reduce the amount of Zorga Masque to play more Zorga Neither, and we can play less cow to play this is a Pegasus. If they really print, like there is one slot missing, I don't know, because people say that it should be a double R for Messiah, then there is not a space for the cyclers. I don't know if this will come in BT06, but the way this deck completely breaks its ceiling forever, it's when you combine both cards together and you can play Fated, Spiritualist, of Taboos, Zorga, Neither Masks. When you can play that, the deck is extremely broken, and the existence of that kind of cycler in the deck would break that ceiling, and it would make, like, no joking, if that card comes in BT06, Zorga wins or has the potential to win Worlds 100%, and there is nothing superior to this deck in the game forever. and let me be honest with something, people like tends to think I'm an extreme cope, but never I said Zorga was the best deck in the game without me thinking it was. If you follow me on Twitter, you haven't heard me say Zorga is the best deck in the game in a year. If this card comes for Stoikeia, Zorga is the best deck again, undisputed, 100%. But like, it depends on them printing it or not, and we are not sure. I kinda want it to come because I love Neither and I love Masque, and if I can play both together and it works, it's amazing. But we don't know just yet. But basically, like, I don't know, we clearly understand that Resile is one of the best decks, not only because it beats some of the decks, we will move to that now. This is going to be a very long video, I'm sorry. But like this synergy from putting OGs into Soul, everybody understands that this is good, that it works, it's more advantage, more actions per turn, more plussing. We can run Forbidal, Tutor, or Fated King, put it to Soul, combo, Soul Blast, put it into hand again. We just need to run one. People is running 4 of their OGs, we can just run 1 or 2 copies. If we get the Pegasus thingy, we can do like 3 Masks and 2 Nadirs, and we do rewrite shenanigans all over. Okay, so yeah, so basically I won't extend too much, but like, what Zorga should I play for BCS? You can play both. They are the same deck, you shouldn't be scared. Just like Zorga is good going first in a format, if you like that die roll format, if you like to be very strong going first and you do not care being a bit weaker going second, you can play another, be happy. It's easier to play because you are less punished by certain things, as long as you can make sure you have orders to keep playing and you know where to put the Sweets and the Gather Upon Me right in the sequence. As long as you can do that, the deck works, they die, it's fine. It's still a next 2 deck, right? It works, and you will happily play your games. Okay, you just need to know that you have a worse strike deck matchup, worse going second. Yeah, I don't recommend playing Neither until Shoshidoji gets banned though, because Shoshidoji kinda eats us alive, so yeah, we kinda want to avoid that. Okay, but if Shoshidoji is already banned, Neither, it's perfectly playable, okay? And Masques, like, it's better if you like something more rounded up, if you don't mind being a bit weaker going first, but you feel more confident because you don't care about losing the die roll anymore. Very good on formats with heavy straight decks like this BT4 format, where a lot of players are still on straight decks because they prefer something that's more rounded up than something that relies on winning a die roll. And yeah, you can still splash Nadir as a one-off and just rewrite it and abuse its powers, okay? Moving to the list, yeah, this is a very long video, but I also think it's very interesting to hear if you really like Zorga. So this is what we came for! Okay, so first of all, we start with Zorga Neither. For me, the best way of doing this is playing the 4 cyclers with fishing. You cannot play fishing without Brave Shooters, and Rancor Chain does not really do much for this deck. If you want to play Neither with Rancor Chain, you have to play Philander, but then you're playing a card that's not synergic with Zorga because you need to call it in order to do something, and Zorga Neither wants you to not call cards. You want cards that do something when they come back from the drop zone. And by using Miasma, Headhunter, which is just 5k less power, it is online turn 3 as well. That's fine. You just put the milling skill on your fishing. You will very consistently hit 1 or 2 dragons that game. You don't need more pieces than that. You don't need to keep milling for more, because neither has that good point. It works with less different types of cards in a deck. So let's abuse that. As for orders, I'm not playing, like, I know I have made another video with Karma, but here I'm not playing taking Shoshodoji in account, okay? As long as Shoshodoji is online, Zorga Nadir, it's not a good deck to play, okay? So basically, it makes no sense for me to play something that it's worse versus everything else if I don't have that many expectations of beating that deck anyway. I don't think neither it's not playable, this format, because Shoshodoji has this thing, like, it's very hard to play, and there is few players capable of playing Shoshodoji optimally, so you can play neither, and you might not even face a Shoshodoji. If you want to play neither, that's the best way I think I have found. 3 Headhunters is just enough to see the one you need turn 3. Further on, you will have enough power, so you just want to see Alana at that point to grind a bit of Soul Blast. And yeah, basically the 2 Couriers pack the whole thing together. When I don't run Couriers, I rig, I lose, I don't have the right order at the right moment. And if you see, we have 2 orders that revive from drop, Miasma and Restraint. I don't love Restraint, but we need something that doesn't cost soul. And we have Gather Upon Me and Switch. We have 2 orders that revive and 2 orders that drive check. We also have 2 orders for power, Corpses and Miasma. In total, we are running 4, because Courier, if used efficiently, can find the right amount of card, and then we have Shadow Cloaks. So we have 4 Shadow Cloaks and 2 copies of power plus 2 Couriers, and 2 copies of drive check plus 2 Couriers. So we should have access to the right tool in every game by doing this. If I don't run Courier, I start struggling, so I don't want to do that. There is also Hades. You can play Hades Season on Courier slot, that's fine. You will have 1 more clan per turn, but the deck will brick more often. If you don't care about bricking more often, I personally do. You can choose to not run Courier and run Hades and Hades Caesar. It's not advisable, this format, though, because they have Shoshodoji, Blackmire, a lot of removal decks. Like, you cannot abuse Caesar on the wrong matchup either. So I think it's a risky card, and the +1 it's not needed, nor will make you win lost games or anything like that. And finally, I should probably make a more focused video because it's getting very long, but you want to play Miasma turn 3, you need to be very smart about overcoming turn 2, because it sometimes can make you clock the preordain, and it can fuck your sequence next turn. Don't be greedy, you just want 38k. Headhunter plus Miasma achieves that turn 3. So doing Miasma with Ladder to prevent your cards from getting removed, or with Sweets, or with Habitat, it's very good, and you can also use Overcoming turn 3 to scale a bit more turn 4. But yeah, don't tunnel vision too much on the Abolishment. Abolishment it's pretty bad. You can actually use it once if you have Alana or you use Ladder. But might as well wait a bit more until the card is more strong, right? Don't precipitate it, okay? And then Black Magic's it's amazing. It's like the same, choose 2 cards that can draw, so you can actually see it when you need it. Switch plus Black Magic's, okay? Well, also Ladder, it's also a draw card, but we are running it because we are forced by the format and because we need the soul charge because neither struggles. And then we have Zorga Masque. It's the all good Zorga Masque. I don't think there is a lot to say here because, I don't know. If there is, you can just let me know on the comments, okay? One thing I'm studying but how many nailers can I include here without the deck breaking? And because we have one more CB, that is the one that neither doesn't cost us, we can maybe try to do some other change, but like, this works. Why, if we already know the formula, why keep changing the formula? And I'm telling you this after 7 months of suffering. Like, I have literally tried everything, tried to break every potential ceiling there was, like trying to make Zorga Masque more grindy to hand, or like having a way for Nadir to do more attacks over time. But every time I tried something, like there was some kind of problem, the deck became too bricky at some point. So basically I'm showing you what I think after like 7 months of struggling. Like, you don't please like and subscribe, like you don't know how many hours of testing. I'm back, okay? So yeah, If you have any questions, you can just let me know on the comments, okay? For Zorga Masque or for the other guys. That's fine. Okay, so basically, what is the meta and how we are going to define these tier lists, okay? We have the going first, burst decks. I think they are all the same, but I think two of them are especially strong, so I will mention them. And then we have the all rounded up decks that can go second. Masque, Skyri, Shiranui, Messiah, Levitras. Okay? In order to decide if I think that decks are better or worse, the only thresholds I'm asking for is if they really struggle versus the removals. Like for example, Prison, it's a very good deck now. Can she combat removals? Not really. The moment they lose the extra attackers, they start struggling, they can choose to not call them early, but... So is Prison a good deck? Will I mention Prison? Yes. Is it something waterproof? It's not. She can also get laddered, right? So it's not a good deck versus removals, and it's not a good deck versus ladder. Other decks are good versus removals, but they are not good versus ladder, okay? So I will just mention that, and this is the only difference I will try to schedule between the different decks, okay? So moving into it, oh yeah, this is BT5 already, so I don't have to do this twice. And it doesn't include Night Rose and Harry yet, but they come perfectly under the all-rounders, so they should be there. I personally think Night Rose is a bit better, but I don't think neither of each is like actually strong. Okay, so we have going first, we have Odium and we have Shoujo Doji. Every deck built within the Divine format, it's basically a going first burst deck. All the decks do the same, they have one way of following a line and they will follow it until the end. If the game deviates, they cannot do anything else. Okay, Shoujo Doji can though, but it's also getting banned, so... Okay, basically we have the two best going decks that are Odium and Shoujo Doji. I think the moment Shoujo Doji gets banned, everyone will move to Odium. Okay, so Odium is the deck we should respect the most going first. Basically, it has a way of killing people that can also play around OT. Like if they get OT half the turn, then they go into the extra turn and you lose the OT potential, you lose all the defensives. Like, for example, let's see Lian or Vivace. Lian or Vivace, like if you're at 3, you're pretty likely to survive the turn with a bit of defense. However, that's not the case versus Odium. Like I only feel guaranteed to survive versus Odium if I'm at 2. When I'm at 3, sometimes I struggle. Don't worry too much, right? Because our deck, if we go the Masque, we are still one of the favorite decks to win, even on a lost die roll though. But the reality is that it's a deck that it's very hard to overcome when they go first. Okay, it's one of the harder to overcome, just as Shoujo Doji is. But Odium is also easier to play, so that's kind of struggling and spooky. It's really spooky. And yeah, so then we have other good going first decks. I think Resile is very good because it has one very good thing. When Divine decks do Divine, they are no longer a threat. Having a skill that can make you consistently overcome that power spike, like that's amazing. That's also why I think Levitras is very good, because even if the game is going second, you will do the Divine, draw a lot, make their Divine turn worse, and you will have a way to survive. I put Levitras on all-rounder though, because like, I don't know, I feel Resile is a bit weak when it goes second, even with the Divine skill. And I think Levitras does that paper very well. I think both decks are going to be very good just because they have a way to survive what Odium is doing, what Vivace is doing, what a lot of other decks are doing because of the extra life and the extra cards, power diminishing. So yeah, and finally we have Michu, which I think might be the worst of all of those. Like, Michu is very similar to Zorga going first because it's like this bursty turn 4, but then she struggles a bit with hand size. I think it's good, but not that much. When we see like Resile and we have Varga, like on the event we find Odium or Shoujo Doji, Zorga Masque, it's immediately better because going first you will kill both, and going second you still have more chances because this is an aggro format. If those decks are rampant, if Shoujo Doji doesn't get banned, we need to go for the aggro, cabeza, boom. Okay? And if we see other more grindy matchups like Leonor, I don't like Leonor a lot. Vivace, I like Masque, but or the hybrid. I don't like Vivace a lot. Okay, so however, okay, one very good thing Zorga Nadir has is because you gain the extra power on the boosters, you are doing two things here. Like, you are completely ignoring Varga from existing because it's basically the same deck, it just kills a back row that you don't care about because it comes back. And Levidras cannot really reduce your power. So neither it's actually a very strong card on a format where those two decks are around. If you play Zorga Neither, you have to play longer games, versus Varga you will have to play it control more often, like limiting the amount of CVs so they cannot play the Divine comfortably or they cannot access to Shura comfortably. And versus Levidras you need to accept they are very grindy as well, and you will have to even play for deck out sometimes, okay? If you play Neither on Masks, you completely destroy both decks though. So if the Dragon Tree Reg comes and makes the fusion viable, let's cross fingers, let's cross fingers, let's cross fingers! Okay, then we have Minerva. We have seen Susano topping with that recently. I think it's like Dayusha in the sense like you have a very boosty option going second. And like Dayusha always goes second if it wants because people will go first, or even Stridex will go first, so Dayusha will always go second, and it's very boosty when it goes second. And Minerva, it's similar like that, okay? And then we have any Stridex, really, like we have Night Rose, we have Messiah, even Jet can do fine. I think Jet is a bit worse though, but I really like Shiranui now because of how well-rounded it is, how well it can fuck up some of the other decks in the format like Blackmire, Snow, and it doesn't break and it can go first to mitigate the Divine skills of course, but then I don't know, it feels very rounded up. And I like the Luard with the Undercover engine because you plus a lot. Yeah, it almost seems like you are a going first deck that can survive the turn 4 seemingly, like to Night Rose or Levidras, and then you have a guard restrict that is very powerful the next turn that can actually kill. I think Luard that's pretty well. I like it. I personally like it. I don't know if it's strong, especially because Zorga Masks completely destroys it, but I don't know. I think it's a very acceptable deck. And I will say one thing: every good player in Europe, I know it's playing one of the decks on this like I have talked to a lot of people, I have seen a lot of people play, I have seen Vienna, and every good player or very good player, not just good player, every very good player I have seen, Dave Beck, Susano, Romain, a lot of players are playing theirs on this situation, all-rounders, because personally I don't like doing die roll. Like, I don't like the feeling of, oh, I lost die roll and my deck cannot do well going second. I don't like that. So even when the format is this going first boosty stuff, I think that decks that has a bit less of ceiling going first, but that are all better put together, those are very good. I think you should, or we should pick decks, and like if we want to compete, for me this third category is the best to pick. And then we have other good decks like Blackmire, Snow, Eva, Messiah, Wellstride is very good, and Fennel is aggro enough to kill the opponents, but they are lacking on some kind of aspect. Like if Blackmire gets lathered, it does that much. It's very slow versus a lot of the decks in the format. Snow is very good and can be faster than it might seem, but struggles with Shiranui, with the ladder, and all of that. Eva is very good, but it's a green deck, it's not an aggro deck, and it will struggle winning. Like if it goes second, we'll lose almost immediately, I think, in my opinion. And when she goes first, she's not doing that much, even if she doesn't care too much. Like this, she is like kind of a less bursty Michu. If I had to pick one, I would pick Michu over Eva. Then we have Messiah, who is on a stride deck and can do well, for example, versus Blackmire, can do well versus a lot of the decks here, like Resile, but then can also struggle versus removals, I don't know. Then there is Welstra, loses to ladder, even if it's very powerful, and Fennel, it's very strong when it goes first, and has this burst potential, but I think it's lacking compared to some others, so this is why I placed it here. And last, but not least, oh, those decks are all good decks. They are not here on any particular order, they are just decks I would respect. And I would choose my Zorga or Masque pick based on what I'm expecting to see from that list, on locals or a tournament. And then we have like this tiny schedule. Pre-ban list, I would play Zorga Masque just because it has a very good Shodoji matchup and a very good stride deck matchup, and we have been seeing a lot of those decks lately. But Zorga it's still fine, and like not many people can play Shodoji well, so why being scared about something you might even not encounter, right? Then we go into BT05. I think Zorga is very good, right? You can play around Levidras by generating power, then you just play it more bulky because you need to survive for longer. Versus Varga, you're a control deck. Versus Odium, you can invest a lot of resources into surviving, then she deck outs. It's fine. In BT05, I think we can pick both. Then we move into straight deck sets in January. Then I would instantaneously pick Masks, because if people is playing Night Rose, Harry, a lot of that, like, Masks just destroys that. And then we have BT06. Nothing in BT06 breaks the ceiling from the game. I have tried Maelstrom, it's good, but it's another going first deck that will lose going second. And if we Resile the new cycler, Zorga goes brrr. We just make a super ultimate limitless power fusion. We put some orders from Nether package into the Masque, and we do barbarities, okay? So let's cross fingers. This week we should know more about this cycler. Let's see what Bushiroad has in store for us. So yeah, pre-ban list mostly masks, but Nathan it's fine. BT05 it's both. Straight deck set January masks, and BT06 I think we have to cross fingers for a tier 0 again, but okay. And well, that's basically all for today. Hope you enjoyed. Apologize for a very long video, but yeah, just that. I hope you are enjoying Zorga. I'm really enjoying Nether, I'm really enjoying Masque. I love both. It's a deck that can play in a very different ways. Even if the decks are the same, the playstyle is just slightly different, and that's also fun. And I don't know, I just hope these videos helps you having more fun with Zorga. That's why I make them, to be honest. And yeah, I just love spending 1 hour talking about Zorga non-stop. So yeah, that's everything for today. Hope you enjoyed, stay safe, have fun, and see you soon.